It's 2007, the year that Call of Duty 4 came out and got us all addicted to online first-person shooters. Kanye dropped graduation and little 9-year-old me got suspended for pulling the fire alarm at school. But before all of that, the Royal Rumble in 2007 ended with The Undertaker as the last man standing, and the road to WrestleMania 23 began, and it was legendary. Yo, the WWE from January to April of 2007 brought me some of my fondest wrestling memories of my childhood, and it all started with The Undertaker. He had all the power in his hands after winning the Rumble, and the question was, which title was the dead man going to challenge for at WrestleMania? Taker would appear on every show staring down the champion, and then Undertaker on an episode of Raw was in the ring with the 3 champions and he made his choice. He chose the animal, Batista. The 2 biggest stars of SmackDown, Animal versus Deadman, 2 monsters were gonna go at it. Meanwhile on Raw, at WrestleMania it was going to be Shawn Michaels versus John Cena, 4 of the most popular and beloved wrestlers in the company in 2 main events for the 2 biggest championships in wrestling. And in No Way Out 07, the 2 matches collided. Shawn and Cena were forced to team up against Batista and The Undertaker. This was one of the most creative WrestleMania builds ever, and it was such a blast. The builds for these matches were amazing. This show was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it at school, and if that wasn't enough, the WWE brought in Donald Trump to do the Battle of the Billionaires. This show was one of the most hyped WrestleManias of all time, and the hype resulted in the show doing 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, and at the time it was the most bought WrestleMania of all time. So let's go back to Detroit. Hopefully we don't get robbed. Let's go back to 2007. Let's go back to our childhoods. Let's take Saliva's Ladies and Gentlemen MP3 and inject that shit straight into our veins. It's Ford Field with 80,000 fans in attendance. Let's take a look back at what made WrestleMania 23 so awesome. The pyro lit up the arena, the Saliva song played, WrestleMania was all grown up. It was such a crazy night. For the first time since 2003, WrestleMania was back in the stadium where it belonged, the fans were rowdy, and the first match of the night was a certified banger. I got money in the bank. Shawty, what you drank? The hardest match in SVR 07, the Money in the Bank ladder match. This match was stacked beyond comprehension. Jeff Hardy was back at WrestleMania, CM Punk in his Mania debut, Matt Hardy, Mr. Kennedy, Randy Orton, King Booker, Finlay, and of course, Edge. I was so shook of Edge in this match. My biggest fear was him winning. Anyone else could have won. Literally anyone. Finlay, go ahead and win. Take Hornswoggle to Disney World. Go become world champion. I don't care. Anyone but Edge. Because I knew if he got close to the Money in the Bank briefcase once again, that mother Canucker was going to ruin my life once again. If only I knew. The 2006 Money in the Bank was solid, no doubt, but this match took it to another level. Everyone went crazy. Step ladders being thrown around, swanton bombs, spinneroonies, that piece of shit Edge was spearing everyone and their moms, so many vicious ladder shots. CM Punk was bleeding, but that didn't stop him from channeling his inner Terry Funk. But the moment that everyone remembers from this match was Jeff Hardy risking it all, and thanks to him, Edge got clapped. And honestly, that's an understatement. In one of my favorite spots ever from my childhood, after Edge was placed on a ladder at ringside, Jeff Hardy, I swear to God, climbed up to the ceiling of Ford Field. This man was so high. No, not like that. Come on. I mean, wait, it is 07, so maybe. But Jeff Hardy was on the tallest ladder I've ever seen in my life, and this psychopath looked into the camera, screamed, and bang, he dropped the most wild leg drop of all time. Legit crushing Edge. Ladder snapped in half, Edge snapped in half. This leg drop was so wild, even Hulk Hogan started wilding out backstage. You know what, dude? Why did Jeff Hardy just take my finish, brother? That's my finish, dude. Let me out there. Edge was a write-off. Edge was basically dead, and as a 9-year-old watching this was the happiest moment of my life. Edge was not going to be Mr. Money in the Bank. The match went on and RKOs off the top of the ladder, bookends from the top of the ladder, and at one point Booker had the option of winning the match or saving his wife, and he saved his wife. Poor little Hornswoggle came through. Remember when they used to call him little bastard? And he was gonna do it. The little homie was going to win the Money in the Bank, but nope, Mr. Kennedy destroyed him. After it was all said and done and bodies were definitely broken, CM Punk and Mr. Kennedy were fighting for the win. They exchanged punches and Punk shoved him off, but Kennedy came back, grabbed another ladder, hit him right in the face, went up and grabbed the briefcase. Mr. Kennedy won the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 23. Such a great opener, so physical, so many memorable and creative spots. As a kid, I was just happy Edge didn't win, but of course, as usual, Edge always figured a way to finesse the system and make little me depressed. I thought I was safe from Edge because Mr. Kennedy won, but no. A few weeks later, Edge would go on to beat Mr. Kennedy for his Money in the Bank contract, and we all know what happened next. I'm telling you, nobody caused me more childhood trauma than this man. When you think of WrestleMania World Title matches, there have been a lot of fantastic matches, but there's one match that doesn't get the respect it deserves. But that's why your boy Pav is in the cut, to put some respect on Batista versus The Undertaker. This match is one of the best big man matches of all time. Batista and Undertaker were the faces of SmackDown, and ever since Batista got drafted to SmackDown, this is what we wanted to see, and we finally got it. Batista with the big gold belt was just perfect. He came into the match showing no fear, and I'm not gonna lie to you, as a kid, I was low-key Team Batista going into this match. Undertaker in 07 was a beast. He took half of 06 off, came back in January with a vengeance. Out of all the matches on this card, me and my grade 3 homies were most excited about this, and boy did it ever live up to the hype. Taker came out with his army of crackheads singing their little black magic spells, and it was on. This is what Mania is all about. This match was a back and forth war. Batista, as soon as the match started, just speared Undertaker, tossed him around to the steps. Taker would fight back, and for 15 minutes, these two just killed it. Taker did his moves, but no matter what, Batista fought back. Taker did his iconic jaw-dropping WrestleMania dive, but Batista still got up and did his thing. Batista casually just picked up The Undertaker, a 300-pound man. He jumped from one announce table to the other, power slamming Taker through the table. Fam, back in the day, nobody did that to The Undertaker. No one was tossing around Taker like that, especially at WrestleMania, but Batista was legit. It was back and forth, so many power moves, non-stop action, and the crowd was so into it. Taker would reverse the Batista bomb and eventually out of the corner, hit Batista with the last ride. But Batista kicked out. Taker hit him with the chokeslam. Batista kicked out. Batista came back with a spine buster. He shook the ropes, which everyone loved seeing back in the day. He hit him with the spear and the Batista bomb, and he went for the cover. The crowd got quiet. Cole was screaming, "The streak is over! Streak is over!" 1, 2, no. And as soon as Taker kicked out, the crowd erupted. The crowd loved Batista, but they wanted to see Taker win so bad. Batista went for one more Batista bomb. Taker reversed it, hit him with the tombstone, crossed the arms, tongue out like Jordan in his prime. 1, 2, 3, and yo, the crowd went mental. Grown men were jumping up and down. The crowd was in a frenzy. It looked like a soccer game. The fans wanted to see Taker win the title, and after 10 long years, after a banger of a match with Batista, the dead man was once again champion at WrestleMania, and now was 15-0. What a match. It gets forgotten, but it shouldn't be. There was no reason for this match to be this special in the first place, but Taker and Batista just had that elite chemistry. Batista looked like a star. Taker bought his A game and they killed it. Taker posed, pyro going off. It was a beautiful sight. From Taker winning the Rumble to the build-up of this match to the actual match, it was perfect. The Undertaker's streak reached another level on this night, and this began the legendary run of WrestleMania classics with The Undertaker. Underrated classic. So it's 07 and the WWE really wanted to spice up WrestleMania and get some mainstream attention. So what do? They call up Donald Trump and get him to agree to participate. They call it the Battle of the Billionaires. Vince in one corner represented by Umaga, Donald Trump in the other corner represented by Bobby Lashley, Stone Cold Steve Austin as the referee, and whichever Billionaires rep loses has to get their head shaved. Only in pro wrestling. 2007, what a time it was to be alive. The build up to this match was hilarious. Vince in 07 officially lost his mind, and it all started here. And he would roast Trump non-stop, and Trump would just stand there awkwardly, not knowing what the hell was happening. But this match had the world buzzing. Everyone was talking about this. Non-wrestling fans knew about WrestleMania because of this match. Somebody was going to get his head shaved, and everybody knew it was going to be Vince. It was really obvious, but it was still something that everyone wanted to see. So Vince made his entrance, Umaga made his entrance, Bobby Lashley and Trump. The barber chair even had its own entrance. As crazy and stupid as this match was, It was just fun. There was so much going on. The crowd was into it and jumping around for the whole match. Bobby and Umaga did their thing. Umaga once again proving just how elite he truly was. You had Shane McMahon come in to help his father out, just casually did a coast to coast. Austin got banged in by Umaga, and then Shane revealed himself as the referee. But then Austin gets up and he starts going crazy on Shane. Trump out here jumped on Vince with the worst whatever that was. Austin stunnered Umaga, then Bobby Lashley speared Umaga. It was a mess. This was sports entertainment and the crowd loved it. It was wacky, it was stupid, but like I said, it was a good time. So Bobby pinned Umaga, which meant one thing: Vince McMahon was going to get his head shaved. And once poor Vince realized that, he ran for his life. He ran like the police was chasing him, but poor guy couldn't escape this one. Sadly, this wasn't the 1994 steroid trial. Austin gave Vince the Stone Cold Stunner to knock him out. They took Vince, tied him to the chair, and they just embarrassed him. Hundreds of thousands of people bought WrestleMania just to see this, and they got it. They shaved his head in front of 80,000 people, millions watching at home. I'll never forget watching this as a kid and just dying laughing. My whole family's laughing. Everybody the next day at school was making fun of Vince's bald head. And poor Vince, man, he was crying, he was begging, and Austin looked like this was the greatest day of his life. Trump had no emotion whatsoever, but it's all good. Trump was doing the trimming, and if that wasn't enough, they put shaving cream on Vince and they used razors to finish the job. What beautiful service. Vince looked like a mess, and once Vince saw what he looked like, he just fell down because it was that bad. It was a great WrestleMania moment. The owner of the company, the man who created WrestleMania 23 years ago prior to this, was getting his head shaved in the ring and crying. Everyone's drinking beer and having a good time, and it was only right. Stone Cold, Stone Cold. Donald Trump got hit with the stunner, and it was something. Yeah. The future president of the United States got stunnered at WrestleMania, and it's things like this that made WrestleMania overall so special. Where else would you have ever seen anything like this? Oh, and hey, because of this moment, in a few weeks, we got Do-Rag Vince, the most OP anime character of all time. On a show that gave us Vince McMahon getting his head shaved, an insane Money in the Bank ladder match, Batista and Undertaker tearing the house down, there was still one match left.
Are you ready?
Glow sticks in the crowd, lighting turned green, the fans went nuts. Mr. WrestleMania was about to make his entrance. 11 years after the boyhood dream came true, sober HBK was back, trying to make the middle-aged dream come true. Shawn Michaels was back in the main event of WrestleMania, challenging for the WWE Championship. The fans loved Shawn. Cena came out to one of my favorite entrances in WrestleMania history. A Ford Mustang was seen driving around Detroit, drifting and swerving, and Jerry Lawler was like,
"What is this, JR? The Fast and the Furious? Look out!"
Crazy how things work out. The car arrives outside of Ford Field and enters the arena. The car goes down the tunnel, it stops for a second, it revs and then smashes through some glass. Cena's music plays and out comes the GOAT. It was time. HBK versus John Cena. The fans were loud, they were amped. A little too amped maybe, because fun fact, if you ordered this pay-per-view live and you watched it, you saw a guy right before the main event started jump into the ring and take his shirt off while HBK and Cena were waiting for their match to start. It was just hype. The bell rang, Michaels wanted a handshake early, Cena said no, so Shawn slapped John right in the face, followed by a DX crotch chop. Ah, the memories. And for 28 minutes, we got something awesome. HBK and Cena tore the house down. Legit 2 minutes into the match, HBK sent Cena outside the ring, and this man went on the apron and did a moonsault from the ring to the outside onto the table. Shawn dominated Cena and basically took him to wrestling school, but Cena hung in there. Cena went for the FU, HBK countered it, he went for the sweet shit music, Cena ducked and it hit the referee right in the face. The referee was down, so Cena went for the FU again, but Michaels once again countered that into a DDT, and the crowd was just on their feet. And this was one of the coolest spots of the match. Shawn went outside the ring and took off the top half of the steel steps. He dragged Cena out to the floor, and on the steel steps, HBK did a pile driver. This was insane. Wrestlers weren't doing pile drivers anymore in 2007 unless you were the Undertaker. The move was actually banned in 2000, but here in the main event of WrestleMania, HBK wanted to go all out. What made this match so special in my eyes was they didn't rely on 50 million finishers and kickouts. Instead, they used the reversals to their advantage. So did they attempt 50 million finishers? Yes, but they didn't hit 50 million finishers. Both men were legit escaping out of their opponent's finishers in the wildest ways. So when the one sweet chin music did hit, it was like, yo, wait, what the fuck? Is it over? When one FU did hit, it meant something. Cena caught HBK in midair, rolled through for the FU, only for HBK to reverse it into the super kick, only for Cena to reverse that into the STFU. God damn it, I love wrestling. After 28 minutes back and forth, the crowd was hanging on every move. Cena went for the FU, Michaels countered it, Cena tripped Shawn and put him in the STFU. Middle of the ring, the crowd was begging Shawn not to tap. Jim Ross was going mental, and after 30 seconds of trying his best to survive, HBK tapped. Back-to-back years, the champ was still here, making both members of DX tap out in the middle of the ring. Cena celebrated, and you can tell he was happy, just soaking it all in, because even though he knew the fans were booing him, he knew he put on a show, and deep down he knew that they respected him. He celebrated with his dad, and he went up to Shawn Michaels to shake his hand, and HBK said no and walked off. Apparently, he was mad at Cena for not doing a better job of selling his leg earlier in the match, which honestly was perfect. Cena didn't shake his hand at the start, and HBK didn't shake his hand at the end, and a few weeks later in England, they tore the house down once again. Cena would then go on to have an amazing 2007, but what a match, what a night, what a WrestleMania. Everybody brought their A game. Shawn Michaels, John Cena, Batista, The Undertaker, Bobby Lashley, hell, even Donald Trump, and especially Vince McMahon with his facial expressions. The Money in the Bank was fantastic. This is one of the most underrated WrestleManias of all time. This WrestleMania often gets forgotten. Hell, even me. Last year I made a video on 21, 22, 24, but I did not make a video on WrestleMania 23. But this WrestleMania is so underrated. It has so many great matches and moments. It's such a special WrestleMania. The Ruthless Aggression Era was a special time, and every single WrestleMania from that era just hits differently, and this is proof that even the forgotten WrestleManias from that era are still classics. Thank you guys for watching. It means a lot. I'm sorry for my little break in my hiatus, but I'm back. No more breaks, no more hiatuses. Thank you guys for all the support. I love you guys.